welcome to episode 3. Just an update, we have actually changed the name of this podcast. I think it was like Echo by Be Eco. It didn't resonate. So we've decided that we were going to call it Uprising by Be Eco. Not only because it is Dad's favourite Bob Marley album, but also I just feel like it really encompasses the journey of, handling a family-run business, the downfalls of the eco industry, the uprisings of, the journey as a family. So, yeah, welcome to the Uprising podcast. Hope you guys enjoy. We've had a lot of love on the previous 2 podcasts, episode 1 and episode 2. And just to shed a little light, I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret, but we actually shot that last year in July-ish.
July, I think.
Yeah, we've only just posted it in 2025. Yeah, no cap. But I think the perfectionist in me just didn't have the capacity to post something, and it was just editing, it was a lot. But we do have 2 marketing companies, not just 1, but 2. But thanks to our social media marketing team, MLD Marketing, who has kept me accountable on how to, I'm just like giving it to them and then they just produce, and I'm responsible for making sure we have the content to post. So thanks MLD, appreciate you. So we're going to get into it. I'll be honest guys, since when we last shot this podcast, there's been a lot of changes, especially towards the end of the year. We thought we were going great, revamped our website, started planning our marketing, our advertising and things like that with our other marketing company, Webull Trades, you guys. But then we came into the new year and everything just went flat on its face. So I'm going to ask you, what happened?
Our last podcast was in July. I'm not used to these podcasts. My daughter throws me in the deep end all the time. So this is me being in the deep end, so excuse me if I falter here and there. But anyway, we've had a lot of changes in the industry. From July we did a number of installs, and up until November we stopped doing our installations. And then Christmas came, and then after Christmas we came back and found out that there was no funding available. So we had a number of jobs that we had done installs on that were just sitting there, and we had nowhere to place them and nowhere to fund, and no funding available. So it was challenging for us at that, over this period of time. And so since then as well, when we have come back, there's been about 50 companies being suspended in our industry. So we mainly work on installation work, like internal, external wall installations. And there was a bit of bad press in the BBC, and that made Ofgem, Trustmark look at the industry and say that, look, we need to revamp this industry, look at all the installers within the industry and see how we can tidy it all up. So that's why funding was stopped.
Okay, why do you think that happened? Like, I know you mentioned that there was some bad press, but why do you think the whole industry just came at a complete standstill?
To be honest with you, there are quite a lot of bad installers out there. They're under pressure, they're limited with the amount of funds that they have available, so they start cutting corners, they start rushing jobs, they take on people that aren't really qualified to do the installations, and they haven't got the processes in place to be able to monitor that. So I think it had to happen in the industry. It's probably a good thing. But it was a massive disruption. It just put the whole industry at halt, and it affected a lot of companies. Like I said, 50, 60 companies got suspended, and there are certain companies like ours that have had to look at their jobs because they've had independent companies come to view them and make some changes moving forward. But yeah, I think that was mainly the main thing.
Yeah, and on adding to that as well, when obviously we got that email that 50 plus companies had been suspended by Trustmark, obviously we've had third party companies that had to look at our company, but going back 2 years at the installations that we have done, and it's been, actually I'll let you explain, what did we have to do?
So what happened is Trustmark went to our accredited company in APIT, and they basically says that they want them to look at all the members that are dealing with them, and they want them to go back 2 years worth of installs that they've done, have a look at them, which is okay, which is fine, but the issue was that they wanted to charge us £400 for every job that they looked at, which I thought was unfair because we've already been disrupted by not being able to place our jobs because funding stopped. Then we've got disruption that we can't take on any more work because all these customers that we had in the pipeline are now having to, we've told them that we can't do their installs. So we've got no income coming in, and then they want to penalise us by charging us to go and look at all these jobs. I know why they want to look at these jobs, but they should be able to fund that themselves, because I really think that the installers are being really unfairly treated regarding the whole process. There are bad installers out there, but the way the whole industry is structured, it doesn't enable us to grow. So we have 3-month windows where we're able to submit jobs. How can you plan over a 3-month period in order to grow your company? You need years, basically, so you can plan ahead and focus on your growth and develop as a company. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this industry enables us to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And when you were going back they were looking at all the jobs that we kind of done in the past 2 years, they then said that we had to pay for the remedial works to be completed in order to bring it up to current building regulation standards, even though if they weren't implemented back then. And again, that's coming out of our pocket as installers. So yeah. They, as an industry, and me just as a protective daughter, I don't like seeing my parents being dragged through the mud in that way, and I get very protective over it. So in my opinion, I would just want to neglect the whole industry. However, we have kind of shifted a little bit. So do you want to talk about how we have moved forward from that?
Yeah, so basically because of this and how much of a disruption it's been, it makes us vulnerable, basically. There's so many companies that have closed down, they can't continue, not just being suspended, but they've had to close down because they just haven't got the funds to be able to continue to run. So we had to change things very quickly. So what we decided to do was change our website and go to the market for able to pay customers instead of just relying on customers that want funding. But we do also understand that over the years there's been a lot of customers that have been waiting for this funding, needing it because they can't afford to pay for the installations. So we are still going to do some eco funding. But we're going to have to change our process in how we do that, and we're going to have a look at, I think it's going to be a case of, even if there is funding available, for customers, they're still going to have to contribute something because the figures that we were getting paid have dropped. So it makes a massive difference to our cash flow. and we're not able to fund the whole project based on what we're getting at the moment.
And why do you think it's important for customers to understand what has happened in the industry?
I think it's important for them to know, first of all, there's a lot of red tape. When we go and see a customer and we're explaining that there is funding available, they think it's going to happen straight away. The installations can be done quickly, and before you know, they've got insulated house where they didn't have to really spend any money. However, because of all the red tape, we have to deal with a lot of different people. So we've got retrofit coordinators to deal with, retrofit assessors, Trustmark, NAPIT, our subcontractors, our funders, and there's a lot of paperwork that's involved in sorting this out before we can even start the installation. They've also implemented independent companies to come and monitor the work that we do, and that requires a C1, a C2, a C3 inspection. A C1 inspection is doing a survey before we even start the job to see if we can have any issues on it. The C2 inspection is them coming to look at the job while we're doing it in between, and C3 is when we finish the job for them to have a look at it right at the end and make sure they're happy with it. And if they feel as if there's any remedial work to be done, we then have to obviously do that before we can submit that to the funders.
Yeah.
So that takes time, a lot of energy, and this is why Simran's not happy with the funded stuff.
Can you blame me?
No.
Because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, it's not fair on the installers because we're having to take all of the responsibility and we are the last to get paid. So before Christmas, we've paid how much for how many installations to get done?
Before Christmas, it's probably about £100,000.
And have we seen that money yet?
No.
Because the industry is flawed severely.
Yeah.
And I just think, like you mentioned, you can't run a business in that way. You can't scale. And you then have to, you're forced in a position where you're in survival mode. You can't function. You need, all your focus is on the business. It's not a good quality of life.
Yeah.
And I think on top of that, when it comes to adding on to why it's important for the customers to understand what if you're getting any eco work on your property, what to expect in that process. Yeah, there is a lot of red tape, and as a project manager overseeing these jobs, it's hard enough balancing the installers and the customer, but then you need to add the funders, you need to add NAPIT, Trustmark, the inspectors, you need to add the submissions team into the mix, and there's one person trying to manage all of this and make sure everybody's happy, even the manufacturers as well. And I'll guarantee you, at one point further along the time scale, there's always going to be one person that's not happy. There's amendments to be made. We have to go back to the property. It's costing us more money. And it's frustrating for the customer as well, because they just want the work done and then get on with their happy lives. But, we have to make sure we get paid. So we have to go back and make sure we're getting various pieces of evidence, making sure that we've got all the photo evidence that we need. And just when you think you've got it right, the industry just changes. Yeah. And there's something new you have to add into the mix now.
I also feel as if everything does fall onto the installer's back. You've got companies like Trustmark, NAPIT, ECMK. There's one company we use for our software called CoreLogic. Retrofit coordinators that are independent, that have taken exams to qualify and to work in this industry. And it looks like nobody. So we need guidance as installers. And if you're a builder, you go to an architect and he'll do your plans on how to put a building up. It's like everything's been left for us to deal with, and nobody's giving us the right guidance. They're not telling us this is how this needs to happen. Retrofit coordinators are supposed to be doing that by giving us the design, but they're generic. So when you get issues that there's a slight change in them. So you've got the C1, C2, C3 companies saying one thing, the retrofit coordinator saying something different, the manufacturer saying something different, and Ofgem saying something different. So nobody really knows what direction to go in. Manufacturers don't know. Now, if it was my opinion, I would follow the manufacturer, because manufacturers got the experience. They're developing the product to put on, these houses. So that's who we got to follow, because, they're offering the warranties. They're giving 25-year warranties or 60-year warranties, whatever it is. So we've got to, be able to go to them and not to somebody that has just put something together and say, this is how it needs to be done. Because nobody knows what is happening in the industry properly. And they need to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
If they want it to change, they need to look at this industry and say, okay, we need to be able to put a process in place where what supports the installers, because they are going to put the installations. They want to make sure it's done correctly.
Yeah, and it's so true. So you can understand why I don't like eco. Just saying. So why? Oh, yeah.
We are going to continue doing eco, but we're going to be very selective on the jobs that we take. And what it's going to boil down to is not everything's going to be free. It's going to be a case where people will have to contribute towards these installs, even though there might be a certain amount of funding available, because there's just a lot extra that we have to put into place, and there's a lot of extra money that we have to spend when it comes to funded work compared to private.
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating because there's a lot of customers out there who literally can't afford to pay a penny towards the work that we do, and it's like dangling the carrot of saying, oh, here's this amazing funding service, the government's going to cover XYZ, but in reality somebody's losing money. Yeah. And as a business you can't function like that. So it's unfortunate we're in a position where we're having to ask the customers to contribute for something that's supposed to be fully funded, because we can't keep pulling it out of our pocket.
I'm going to give you an example. Going back a year ago, we used to get paid £28.50 per ABS. So ABS is the saving of the property, energy savings that you're going to get on that property. So an average house, we used to get paid about £17,000. But that was for, a whole house approach where we might have to do internal or external wall installation, loft installation, heating controls.
Yeah.
So
enough measures to increase the property by 2 EPC bands, basically. Yeah.
That then dropped down to £25 ABS. So it went down to about 15,000. Then it came down. It's now, I think the figures at the moment are about £22. Mm-hmm. per ABS, which doesn't cover a job, not on an Eco4 anyway. Not if they want us to improve the way the installs are done. So they're making us spend more money, and yet they keep reducing the funding. I just don't understand how that works.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
So somebody wake up out there and do something.
Amen. Please. Because we can't keep going down this road. It's unfair for the community. It's unfair for the people that need it, that can't get it. It's unfair for the installers that are responsible. All the responsibility gets put on our head, and it's not a good quality of life. Like, personally, and I understand. Like, if we manage the ratio correctly, so if we do predominantly like our private jobs, and then have like a 3-to-1 ratio where we do an Eco4 funding job, then understandable. At least you're helping some people where you can, because it then balances out. But I wouldn't recommend doing or relying on Eco4, so having a whole month's worth of work just solely Eco4. It just doesn't work.
I think it'll happen organically, naturally. We are going to advertise for able to pay customers, but part of them customers, when we do go there and see them, and based on our conversations with them, we'll get to know where they're at, and if there is any support that we can give them. But obviously we have to make sure that it's going to be done correctly, which it is, but the processes that we put in place is the extra cost that we have, that they're going to be, they're going to have to probably contribute towards it.
Yeah, that's why we do a free consultation, by the way. So before any job that we do kind of take on, we'll do a free consultation, make sure that we understand what works need to be completed, what kind of funding the customer is looking to get. So before you actually commit into anything, we can kind of give you all of the information that you need. I think that's kind of our responsibility as well as an installation company, is just to educate the customers on what they're able to get.
Yeah, very complex industry this is.
Yeah,
very complex.
very complicated. And we'll tell you, and then next month it will probably change, and then we'll have to retell you again about all the changes and get all the new evidence and whatnot. But on that note, why do you think we're still standing?
We're still standing because we take our customers very seriously. We're responsible. It's so easy when you hit with all these challenges to close your company down. Say, well, I don't think it's worth it. Might as well just close this down and do something else. But we have taken responsibility on our head, and really our installations, they've been good installations. Even when we've had inspections done on the jobs, there have been some minor tweaks, but nothing major. Nothing that we can't deal with, whereas some of the other installers, there have been major jobs that have been just totally so bad that they couldn't be rectified. And I think that's why when Trustmark have gone out there to look at these jobs, they have found some little issues, but some of the companies have looked at the jobs and thought, no, these are way too much, and closed them. And that's people rushing and just putting anybody in place to do the installation, not taking any care behind it.
So what do you think we did different?
So first of all, our processes. When we were taking on installers, we had an onboarding process which we were very careful with. So obviously they have to have an MVQ level 3 qualification in whatever installation they're doing. They have to be trained by the manufacturer, but that's okay doing that, that's paperwork, but the proof in the pudding is the actual installs. So what I do as an individual is, I've had so many companies that have come, or not companies but individual installers that have come and they want work offers, and they said that they've done loads of installations, they know what to do, and send me loads of photographs, and them photographs look really good when you visually look at them. But then when I've gone out to view the jobs that they have done, I found a lot of faults in the jobs, and it's that attention to detail that they lack, and then that just kind of like makes my mind up on whether I need to take that installer on or not. And even if it's somebody that I feel as if it's somebody that we can work with, I wouldn't let them install themselves. They will have to work under one of our trusted installers that we've worked with for a number of years, and we know their installations are really good. They'd have to work underneath them and prove that they're able to do these installations. And once they've passed that stage, then I would let them work on themselves. Yeah. So it's monitoring them jobs. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel as if there's a lot of people out there and companies out there that are being more focused on trying to get the work done and submitting it instead of looking at the job properly. Mm-hmm. And that's what there's been so much of an uproar in the industry.
Yeah, so just that attention to detail, you know, making sure the quality of work is, up to scratch, but also the habits on site as well. So like messiness and things like that, just making sure that the installers have good practice when working on people's sites, making sure that they're respecting the people's homes as well.
Yeah, one of the things I look at is when I work with an installer is you're going to get a mess when you're working on a building site, but it can be organised mess. Mm-hmm. How are your tools placed, how's your van like, where's your material, is it in one place, instead of everything being all over the place. So that's a first sign of when you're working with an installer, how they're set up basically. And the right installers set up in the right way, and they're organised, and they churn through work very quickly compared to other installers that are all over the place and their head's not quite right.
Yeah, because it does reflect their kind of like mental state, and like again, their mental state is also going to reflect in their quality of work. But even when we were doing the onboarding, you had me make a training manual on the BE Eco standards, and part of that was a before and afters of cleaning your van. Like literally take everything out, sweep it out,
Yeah.
have it all in training manual, guys. It's great. And Dad was the model.
Yeah, so we had to use one of our vans
Yeah,
as a model. Yeah, but these little things are very important.
attention to detail, as you said.
Attention to detail. They reflect on your customer. They can see the difference when you're working on site. And I think they're very important. Even when you finish a day's job, just cleaning up after yourself. It only takes 10 minutes to do that. So they work all day, they do all the hard stuff, and then they leave something in a mess, which I don't find is right, basically.
Yeah,
Respect people's properties.
yeah, that's a good one. So where are we now?
So obviously we've come back after Christmas. There have been a lot of changes. We've had to take a back step. We've had to think about how we're going to move forward. So like I said, we've had to revamp our website, go to the market where we're going to start marketing for able to pay customers. We've started marketing with a company in Africa. I think
Yeah, so there's two marketing companies that we have. We have our South Africa marketing team, who are managing our social medias, hence we're here on the podcast, guys. And then we've got other marketing team based in the UK, We Build Trades. Honestly, cannot recommend them enough. They're absolutely fantastic. They're the ones who revamped our website. They're doing our kind of like paid advertisement ads and things like that.
So we were basically we came back after Christmas, and then obviously found all these challenges. We thought we'd need to do the marketing. Simran's in charge of that side, and that's why we're here, sitting here doing this podcast, to not only to educate customers about what's happening in the industries, just to explain what we're doing going forward. It was a lot of pressure on us as well, because there was so much stuff to sort out, and we felt we needed some support. So we've decided to take on some new staff as well, which we have done. We had a bit of a trial run when we were doing our marketing, where I would go out and go and see the customers. So we did some marketing for about 2 weeks. Out of them 2 weeks, we got about 40 leads, managed to see about 20 customers, got about 5-6 installs done from them 20 customers. So there's about 1 in 4 ratio, 1 in 5 ratio. And then we put it on hold, because I couldn't go and see the customers and manage that. We need to get more people in place. So that's what we've been doing, is recruiting. And they've started now, and our marketing is starting.